Hello, everyone. It's nice seeing everyone here. It's a pleasure to meet you and everyone here. Hi, Neil. I love the bow tie. Hello. Yeah, so it's actually a pleasure to be here. Hi, Aiden. Hi, Kelly. Yeah, Kylie. Sorry. Actually, I got to reach out to Kylie. I think about last year. I wanted to. I'm actually trying to explore my abilities actually as public speaker. I want to just share as much as I know. As it is said, when you actually teach, you get to learn twice. So this is an opportunity for me to learn twice. So I'm really, really honored to be on this platform to share the little I know. I'll be taking a topic I'm very sure a lot of us are familiar with. It has to do with design principles in the Power App development. Now the question will be what really motivated me to actually look at this topic. Now I've been in the local development space for a little while, and especially for development, Power Apps development. And I noticed that our approach to a Power Apps development doesn't incorporate the design principles in a whole lot of sense. So I just felt that that's actually an angle that we should also be turning to, looking at the fact that we'll be creating solutions, but at the end of the day, we don't want a situation where our solutions tend to become problems in terms of usability and all sorts of things. So we'll be looking at the design principles and how we can actually adapt them. Now, this will be more of a design class. At the ending, I would like to give a little transition into how Power Apps is actually empowering people to build much more elegant for low code applications and solutions. I know there are a lot of professionals on this space, so pardon me before I begin. My crave your indulgence in any situation where I actually make mistake. Please feel free to call me back. And I think I'll take most of the questions when during and probably after my presentation. Now, design principles in Power Apps. First and foremost, I'll do well to introduce myself. My name is Panshak Koproda. I'm a Nigerian, obviously. I'm a Power Platform junior developer. I don't think I've been in the space for more than, I think, 8 months. Yeah, but a lot has been done. I'm really loving where I'm going to with this. Also a graphic designer. I use Canva a lot. And most importantly, a passionate public speaker and teacher. I love teaching a lot. Yeah. I am my Microsoft Lens Student Ambassador Campus Lead for the University of Jos here in Nigeria. I am a community enthusiast and community builder. Now, what are my hobbies? So I actually overheard some of us talking a lot about movies and stuff. So I watch movies too. Of course, Hollywood movies. I listen to a lot of music. I love reading. Yeah. I think I just discovered the word recently. I think I can identify myself as a philomath or something like that. Yeah, I have a passion too for design, and most importantly, I love football. What you guys call soccer, obviously. Yeah. So now what are our agendas? I've actually structured our agendas to be like in the form of a three-course meal. So we're going to have the appetizer, we're going to have the entry, we're going to have the dessert, right? So we're going to move into the appetizer now. We're going to see what we have. Now I'm going to start with this quotation, design, by Donald Norman. I'm very sure a lot of us have heard and have seen this book, The Design of Everything. Is actually a book on design. And this is what he said, design is really an act of communication, which means having a deep understanding of the person with whom the designer is communicating. Now, so it's another avenue for you to communicate. So in a sense, when we have apps that we build, we don't need, there are a lot of things, a lot of informations that we can call filler informations that are not necessary on our apps that can actually stand in the way of communicating what we want our app to solve and what our users get to do. That is why I feel design is very important. Even though we might be creating solutions, we might end up seeing that at the end of the day, we have um, solutions that are not appropriately used. To the best to which we can, we want to create applications that will not really require a user manual or our presence there to actually carry on, right? Now, this is actually a quotation I'm very proud of. This is what I define as design personally. Design is a purposeful, harmonious use of design principles to evoke predictable human actions or behavior. So when you put together designs principle together cohesively, we're looking at a way you can actually evoke predictable human actions or behaviors. So it's more about it's design is not really about the designer. It's not even really about the design, but it's about the end user and the information you're trying to get there. So when someone picks up your application, what ways can you put your design principles together and actually put your message across? Now, for the sake of feedback, I would like you to raise your hands to indicate that you're actually following. Are we together? Yeah, thank you very much, Aiden. So moving on. So the whole essence or the whole idea is to actually evoke predictable human action. So in a sense, even when you actually play with color, you play with a lot of things that have to do with design principles, you want to be able to predict human action, right? And based on that predictions, you want to be able to evoke, you want to be able to predict behaviors. Okay, how will people behave on my app and stuff like that? So those are the kind of things we'll be looking at today. Now, also, I'm also quoting someone I really look up to in the industry of design and content strategy. Now, design is not just about aesthetics. Now, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. It's about solving problems creatively. Now, you after solving the problem or that your app is trying the solution, after building a solution for whatever business you have, in a real sense, when you can now come to communicating the solutions, you're going to encounter some problems and that is where design will come in. You're going to creatively put the design principles together to communicate the idea behind your solution, right? Now, this is a little diagram I put together. Now, design is actually at the sweet spot of three things. First is purpose, creativity, and solution. First, you have an app or a solution that is purposefully driven. Now, you bring in your creativity in terms of the situations where you get to have problems, and then you have a solution. Now, in the midst of that is design. I want us to move our minds away from, of course, it's obvious. I want us to move our minds away from aesthetics when we talk about design. Although aesthetics is part of it, but aesthetics is not the crux of the discussion when it comes to design. Now, for we low-code developers, we actually usually leave out, we leave design out of our solution architecture in low-code development. This is for a fact. Yeah, I've seen a lot of, sorry to say, a lot of ugly apps. Yeah, they actually solve problems, but they're not actually appealing. Yeah. So you are looking at design in itself to be a form of engineering. So when you're done with the architecture in the sense of your solution, you need to look at a way where you can actually engineer the solutions that you want to incorporate into your app, right? So you're going to look at strategic means to make sure that people use the call to actions as much as possible, make the button as wide as possible. Although there are a lot of limitations with the Power Apps, I am glad that at the end of this presentation, I'll just walk us through how it works with Figma, just briefly, so we get an understanding. Although the solution with Figma is not really fully fledged, but we can see that to some extent they're really putting efforts to see that they empower us with whatever we need to actually design beautiful apps. Now, design is important in order for us to get accurate feedback. Now, if the design is actually done well, we can actually get to see areas where our users are having issues with our apps. Now, one of the reasons why I will focus on design is because I was actually doing a little research and I discovered that Microsoft have come up with something they call Microsoft, I think it's Power App, where you can actually get your app to be deployed on you can actually get your app to be deployed on iOS and on Android without the need of that third-party Power Apps that we download from whatever Play Store we're using. So you can use Power App as a native application, although it will be WPA, progressive web app. Although it will be a progressive web app, you are going to it's still going to be able to run natively on your phones. Now, if we're looking at that, we're looking at it's not just going to be an indoor kind of app or solution. We're looking at other people getting to lay their hands on your app, right? So we're looking at now creating solutions that even go beyond the enterprise base that the Power Apps is narrowed to, in a sense. Now, okay, and also UI is what a person sees. It has to do with the visuals too, and this also has to do with mostly perception. So, the whole idea of design comes from I think it's a principle called the Gestalt principle. It's a study of how humans tend to perceive objects tend to perceive their visuals. So in a sense, we are not even talking about things that do with people that are even visually impaired yet. Sorry. But just for this, I think it has to do a lot. It has a lot to do with our visuals. Now, the user experience has to do with the person's experience. Now, although this has little to do with design, but since design has a relationship with engineering, we're talking about load speed, position of buttons, etc. And to me personally, UI comes up top of the stack in terms of importance. Yeah, we can argue that, okay, which one do I do first? Do I first and foremost see that it works, it's functional before I design it, or do I design it before you actually make sure it's functional? And we're going to look at that closely. Now, we're going to go into general design principles, right? Now, what are the general design principles? This is actually, I'm going to focus on the visual aspect of design. We're going to be looking at, okay, the UI elements that are involved when you're creating a design. So when you start you're starting off and you don't know how to go about your UI design, first thing you should consider is having a background for your app or whatever. You're going to have a background. It can be whatever color. It can be a lot of things. There are a lot of tricks I will actually introduce us to at the end. Now we're going to also look at basic UI elements, which are, each typography is one of them. So we need to look at the kind of text you're using. This actually goes a long way to talk about the kind of information you're passing across. So you need to look at things like serif, sans serif. You need to look at scripts. Although you can't use your script, you can't use scripts in actually developing an application. But when it comes to serif and sans serif, it has a way of communicating. Okay, this app is a bit funky. This app is more just strictly corporate and stuff like that. Then we can also talk about color. Now, Power Platform, user group, Washington, stuff like that. Sorry, I made a mistake with the power. So we can also look at color. Color is very important when we come to visual design and visual perception. So I think there was a time my friend and I were building an app. I think I just left him to do the whole thing. I was working on the functionality, and I think there was a combination between yellow and green, and it was actually quite absurd, when you're on the app. I think there's a little bit of distraction, and you just have to know how to choose colors. The whole design, the whole concept of design is actually very, very, it's actually quite bulky too. So color theory is another aspect that we are not going to be going into today. Then we're also going to be looking at images. So when you have a combination of your text and color, you have a combination of a background and your image, you can get to see that you're now beginning to have something that is visually appealing, that is now, it's not just about the visuals, but it's about driving a message, trying to communicate what you have, the solution you have, to your end user. Now, these are the four main basic UI elements that most people will encounter. Now, we're talking about the design types. Now, there are more design types than this, but these are the design types that you see common to web development and app development. Now, you have the schemorphic, you have the flat, you have the ridge. The schemorphic is the one that makes the design look realistic. So it's like it's a 3D thing, it's a picture, but it's like you are in the picture or something like that. I would have given an example, but because of time, we'll have to move on. Then you have the flat kind of design, which is what Google uses. The kind of design that works for them. That's used for more general audiences, right? Then you have the rich design, which is one I will usually recommend, which actually has to do with having pictures and mixing it up with the rest. Then we have neumorphism and glassmorphism, which are actually coming up. And we have to also look at the user experience design process. Now, as I've said, our apps are not really about us as such. They are actually about the user, right? The end user. Now we have to check the user's needs. That's actually what drives us to create solutions, right? So what does the user need? Yes. Now we also need to purpose that need in the sense that it goes well with the kind of person we are curating the app for, right? So we need to look at, okay, these people, what's their age bracket, what's their persona, right? Then we also need to look at how to curate the app itself, which is to build. Then we need to look at how to create the app and also measure here, in the sense that we are gauging the app, we're testing it to see what is actually very appealing to our user and what we should actually take out. Now, user research, this is gotten through interviews and surveys. Now, you actually do this before, usually it should be before the app. Now, this would be preferable if you have a situation where people have a solution already that works. Now, you're going to need to identify pain points that has to do with what the solution, with the solution they're using currently. Then that way it will help you to now look strategically at ways you can actually build your app. Now, by interviewing, the user is ahead of the solution, and by interviewing the user ahead of the solution, you're about to bring quantitative, qualitative form of what's it called? Quantitative. You can gather your data quantitatively, in the sense that okay, this thing actually experiences a runtime of maybe it actually lags by maybe 4 seconds, and qualitatively, someone can just tell you, I really just feeling too comfortable with the colors of the app and stuff like that. Then you can also look at competitive other solutions that people have actually worked with. You can actually see how you can bring that on board and actually compare it with your own app. I'm going to walk us through the design process quickly. It's just looking at purpose, functionality, fabrication, curation, building, testing, review, and update. Now, what's the purpose? What's the app about? That's the questions we need to ask. We need to ask, how will it work? That has to do with functionality. Now, curation, we need to look at the visualization of established concepts that we have already about the app. Now, the building is where the low-code stuff comes in, where we actually get to write our Power FX formulas and stuff. Then we also need to look at testing, very important. We're looking about system requirements and goal gauging. Now, in the process of your interviewing, you should have some form of system requirements and goals that your apps are actually going to need to meet. Now, also after that, you're going to have a review, an analysis, a deep down analysis of how your solution works. Is it efficient enough? And after that, the process goes over again, and you need to begin to look at updates. Then the update takes you, now brings you back to purpose, and you're back at it again, and design process continues. Now we're going to be looking at the design principles closely. Now there are a lot of design principles, but these are the ones I see people making, just making a mistake in maybe just 2 of the design principles can put your app off, right? Now we might already know already, but I don't know if we actually implement it in our applications. That so we have alignment. Alignment has to do with having a direction for your app. Let me put it that way. So you can see that my presentation is mostly left aligned. Now, for people let's say if you're actually building an app for people who actually read English language, there's a high tendency that you will likely align your app to the left, because we read from the left to the right. So psychologically, even considering the way our minds have been trained, we can see that by nature, we actually look at things on the left first before we move to the right, right? So you can align your apps to the left, you can align your apps to the right. That is also depend on the way you want to structure your content. But I usually prefer to align my apps in the center. This actually takes away any form of distraction, and a lot of the other design concepts can come into play easily. Then we also need to look at proximity. Proximity in the sense that when icons or functionalities, buttons actually have or similar functions, it will be best if you actually keep them close. So visually, we'll perceive that objects that are actually close to each other have similar functionalities, right? So we need to look at proximity. You get to sometimes put some icons close to each other, or buttons or stuff like that. We need to also look at repetition. Now you can see how this breaks the whole chain of the perception that I'm having on the left side. Now I'm actually looking at it. Okay, I'm starting with a square, then a triangle, but I need my objects to be consistent. That's the whole idea. So I can't start with a square and end with a circle or stuff like that. So in a sense, if you're having shapes that are edgy, I think you should continue with the edginess. If you're having shapes that are rounded, you should continue with the rounded objects. Now we're also talking about emphasis. Now we're not even yet going into color theory and stuff. So you can just have a way of highlighting maybe a call to action that you really want people to take. So if you are now having people submit a form, you can make emphasis on the button that has to do with submit. Make sure that the whole design principles aligned in such a way that there is emphasis on that. So when someone is done, the person doesn't forget to drop the submit button. Now that's why there's a high tendency that the submit button will be at the bottom and at the middle of your application, right? Not at the top right or not at the top right. Now we also need to look at hierarchy. Now, if you look at this, I would like you to actually just perceive with me which one did you actually get to read first. Are you enjoying his class? Then, okay, yeah, Panshak smiles a lot and stuff like that. Yes. So you can also look at the right side, and hierarchy is in two sense. You can actually have your hierarchy in terms of size, and you can also have your hierarchy in terms of color. Now you can see that I have, although the Panshak on the right side is bigger, you actually see smiles a lot first, because hierarchically it's actually red that you tend to see first. Yeah, then you can actually see that on the left side, you can actually first read enjoying his class, then you're going to see Panshak, then you're going to see smiles a lot. That's hierarchy, right? Then we're also going to look at contrast. Now, you can see that the yellow circle is the one that is actually outstanding because of contrast. Now, every other thing is actually a bit purplish, but that one is yellow, and you can see that that one stands out first. Although they are all aligned, there's equal proximity, that one stands out for the design principle of contrast. Then we also have balance. This is the most important, I feel. So you can see that for the circles on the far left, you can see that they are not balanced. You know, there's a way it actually irks you to just look at that. If you're looking at it, apart from the fact that there's also the contrast, you can see that there's little or no balance. Now, I would have really loved to explain balance, but the whole idea of balance is to have things on the left and the right side balance as much as possible. We have white spaces, which is the spaces in between our objects and themselves. There, we're going to now look at the main dish itself. Now, creativity, the science of new ideas. I have to rush through my slides because of time. I actually put together a lot. I believe it wasn't easy preparing from last year. So a lot of things I wanted to actually teach this evening, but we'll see what we can do. The creativity is actually making a 10% change to an already existing app. This is from Virgin Abloh, late Virgin Abloh. Good at this, has virgin ideas, a great one steals ideas. This is actually I think you can just go through that in your own time. Design is the intersection of creativity and strategy. This is just really give us little insight. Now, color theory, the sense of color complementation. Of course, I would have loved you guys to actually look at, okay, what colors work best, how do I pick my colors, but not really. I think we have AI now, and they can actually do that for us. So there's no need really actually having to learn. It's good to know about color complementations and stuff like that. Then design tricks and hacks. In Nigeria, we call this Jara. This is just the topping. Okay, or let me better still. It's the cherry. Yeah, I think the cherry, was it the topping on the cupcake? Sorry for that. Yeah, so it's maybe Neil can actually correct me. There's this, but yeah, we'll just move on because of time. Then we have design tricks and a hack. I would like you guys to look up the two at the top. They are very important. The 60-30-10 rule for the way to actually put your colors together. I love the golden ratio and how it works. You need to look at tint, tone, and saturation, how to work with that. Color palette generators. These are actually things that have to do with AI that can actually help us with that. Icons and buttons and stuff like that. Now to the dessert. I would like to quickly carry us over to my Power Apps homepage. I hope we're still together, guys. Please feel free to turn on your camera and wave. Yeah, thank you very much, Eden. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Kylie. Yeah, so I'm going to now take us to my Power Apps homepage. So are we enjoying the class so far? Is it insightful? I need to ask.
Yeah, I want to see some examples.
All right. Thank you. That's what we're going to. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm very sure we are familiar with this, right? Yeah, I won't be doing them. I think I have just 7 minutes. So I'm very sure we're familiar with this. So Microsoft Power Apps just added the Figma add-in to Power Apps just recently. It's beautiful. One of the reasons why I love Figma is the fact that the learning curve to actually pick Figma is actually not it's not that tough. You can actually just pick Figma in maybe 2-3 weeks up to a month, because you're not going to be doing a lot in Power Apps. You just need to know a little, not just much, just how to move the icons. And even for creating your UI kits in Power Apps, it will be lovely if you could, if you just, I think there's a little bit of a tutorial, so it just shows you how to just do it, and it's actually not tough. Now the whole idea is, I just feel that creating the UI itself in the Power Apps canvas is actually a bit tough. Yeah, but this actually makes it easy. It's still the drag and drop stuff, and I like the fact that you can just bring a link over and you can just set it up. Now, actually, also going to take us to the project just a little project I did for this class that has to do with we have to do with Figma. So I'll have to stop sharing this screen. Actually, share another one. Yes, so this is the Figma homepage. Yes, you can actually click on create new design, and from there, but preferably when you should go through the Power Apps, and it will actually give you your Power Apps from Figma UI kit. And it's actually important because with this, you have assets already that are actually inbuilt that you can actually work with, right? So you can actually jump on this. Yeah, so it actually has assets that you can work with. So for now, Power Apps are not allowing you to explore the full width or the full breadth of your creativity. So they are going to actually be the ones to provide you with the assets, and there are usually assets that are already there on the Microsoft Power Apps development and stuff like that. So trying to see that I get to the, let me try. Sorry, I think my connection. Let me try this. Yeah. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing. So far, do you have any question we would love to ask before my app gets to load?
What's the
So okay,
what's the state of the Figma conversion into a Canvas app these days? I heard that the template or whatever it's provided, the stencil is over a year old. Is Microsoft updating it? Have you found it works pretty well?
yeah, it works well. Yeah, but as I said, there's actually some limitations so far. They have not really given you space to actually explore your creativity. Like, there are a lot of apps out there who actually love to create actually on our Power App canvas, but for now they're actually limiting it. There's actually limits on it, so they're actually just assets you can use. So those assets are the ones that you have your screen, you have your drop downs and stuff and like that. Now, normally Figma has a way of also helping your creativity, right? So when you actually get to drop these assets, they are also auto align, and you can work with that too. So the whole building of the UI of your app can now take less than it will normally. So when you need to, and it won't look too awkward. So we're still waiting for updates. Maybe hopefully future events we can see a lot of updates that will really I will love. So we're really I know that will actually I'm confident that Microsoft will actually give us a lot of updates going forward, because I'm very optimistic. I just love the idea, right? It actually gives a lot of
Yeah,
expression
cool.
to our creativity. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, but not much has been updated, although it's been over a year now. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Neil.
Thanks.
Yeah, it works auto responsively. Yes. So yeah, you can actually, but most times it will actually give you room to actually choose. If you go to your Power Apps, it will actually give you, I would have loved to show it. So it's just like creating our normal Canvas app. You're going to either choose tablet or phone, and when you are on the Figma page, it is also going to give you two options to actually choose either your tablet or also your phone. Now I'm going to come back. Let me share the screen. Yes, so as you can see, this is just a 3-screen app. I try to use Canva. There are lots of, there are some limitations to some extent. Yeah, but this is it. So I added a little bit of a picture. I just left the normal white background. I don't want us to go into something too complex. And this is also a form that I added. So as you can see here, I can add this form. So when I actually get to build it on my Microsoft, on my Canvas app, I can actually just get to add maybe, I can just connect it to my data and it actually works. I've already built the app already. I would love to actually drop this, but that would take, oh God. So let me just show you the assets that are here just quickly. So there are a lot of things you can do. I love the fact that, but there's actually still a lot yet to be integrated into the whole thing. Now you can see here that these are your local components. As you ask the question whether it's going to be responsive, now you can choose to actually build a tablet app or a phone app. Now this is actually where you get the screen. You just pick this and drop it and actually start working with it. There are actually some steps too before you begin to work with it. You're going to have to detach it. Then you also have your scrollable section. If you want to include the scrollable section in your app, you have your buttons, you have your label, you have your text input, your combo box, and these are actually basically your assets, the components under your assets. Now, if you come back to layers, I just want to show you how to bring the app and actually build in a Power App. So you will right click here and actually click on copy link to page. Switching back and forth will have been a little bit tougher. Then you click on add link to page, come back to Power Apps, click on Figma, you name your app, let's say student registration reg. Then now the link we got when we right clicked on our app on the page is what we're going to paste here, Control V. Then you also have personal Figma tokens, which you can get under your settings. Let me quickly share that, so this can build an app for us quickly. So you can click on this drop down, go to settings, scroll down. You're going to see create a new personal access token. Let's say student. You click enter. Then you can see copy token. Now you click copy. That's been copied to our clipboard. Then we come. Then we paste it here. Now it's actually a phone app. Let's make sure we do that. Then you can click on create quickly and see how that brings our app into Power Apps. So this is getting things ready. We're going to see how. Yeah, as you can see, this is it. This is just a little of it. My application is center aligned, obviously. Can have a submit page. A lot of things are yet to be worked on, but I'm already tweaking around. I'm trying to see how far I can get to this. So zoomed in. Let's see. So I think I can end my class here. Is that okay?